I've got it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Today, this is a meeting before the Town of Manlius Planning Board. Today is September 11th. If you'd all be kind enough to have a moment of silence to think about those who gave their lives, firefighters, the EMTs, the rescue personnel, and the victims of the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is for approval of the minutes of our meeting of August 28th. Are there any requests for modification or change of the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Richard to approve. Second by Judy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any disapproved? Motion carries. Minutes are approved as written. The next item on our agenda is an application by Danielle and Ryan Ewert. This is for property located at 8291 East Seneca Turnpike in Manlius. This is their second presentation. This is for site plan, subdivision, and special use permits. Although our agenda reflects it is for Fawcett's Doggy Daycare, it is also for Ryan's Landscape. All under tax map number 099-1-27.4. Is there somebody here on behalf of the applicant?
Yes, I'm Ryan, with Danielle. Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself.
Thank you, Mr. Rossetti.
I know you said something about Ryan Fontaine landscaping. That was, nothing was ever said to me about that, so I don't really have a lot on that tonight. I know I had filled out paperwork for that, but I was told it was strictly for the subdivision of our property. As you guys know, we went in front of the DBA. We have since decided to do a sewer system for this lot. So in return, I need 150 feet of road frontage, which we have. So we are in front of you asking for the subdivision of that property. Which here's the drawing. You have any detailed questions? I know you have the engineer Joe here. I can speak on anything you may have a question.
I'll tell you, my biggest concern that I am seeing, it's a subdivision and it's almost an equal subdivision of the two lots. One is 3.7 acres, the other 3.636 acres. But that second one, which would be known as lot 5B, almost looks like what I call a flag type. It's very narrow at the street, and then it gets bigger towards the back. And as a general rule, we try to avoid that.
There is design standards for lots, except excessive depth in relation to width shall be avoided. For a proportion of 2.5 to 1 will normally be considered maximum. That's in the design standards.
And the road frontage is 186. The total depth 451 and 183. It's definitely exceeds.
It says the width of the property, doesn't say the width of the road. Doesn't say the width of the building setback line. Doesn't say where the width is supposed to be. So that would be something that got to be clarified, I believe.
You gotta speak louder, that's trouble hearing.
I said that it says the width of the property. It doesn't say width measured at, roadway line, it doesn't say width at the building lot line. It doesn't really specify where the width is supposed to be. So I don't think you can just arbitrarily say, we're gonna take the short width and use that. That's just, it's not really clear.
You are creating a lot, and it would be the width of that lot that's being created.
Right, but you've got several widths there. You got the one by the street, you got a real wide one further back.
That would, generally, that's to take care of a flag lot. Situation, that's what that's for.
I'm gonna open this up to the board. Board has questions about what the subdivision. I'd like to hear.
I'm concerned about the people living next door. And these are people who farmed this whole area for years. And she's probably elderly now and living here. I'm concerned about her with an additional dog care unit in the back. That's what I'm concerned about. I don't have to hear.
So the drawing that you're showing us tonight on the board is different than the one that we were given? No.
No.
It's different than the original one we were given.
I gave
Yes,
April 13th.
okay, I've got one that was before that. So they've changed it.
Yeah.
So is that the actual subdivision map? I'm sorry, Doug, you'll have to read it for me, I can't see it from here. Is that the proposed subdivision map? Because there's a lot of different maps floating around.
Maybe that's the one from the survey.
Proposed minor subdivision.
Can you read the date on that?
You're gonna pull up what we've got there, Lisa?
Try.
Okay.
The line is showing March 8th, 2023.
So
I don't see a date on this. There's a revision box with one in it. Joe. Dated. Subdivision dated. This is off the original map, 11/30/91, right date, regular.
the subdivision map that's up online is showing, if you look on site plan, under the first submission part there, it's got a date. No revision date, but it's 11/10/22. But I'm guessing that since the drawings that have been submitted were showing the septic system, and then after the zoning board said no to that, the drawings would need to be revised because the grading plan will change. I have some comments on the site plans themselves, which I'd be happy to share, but it sounds like they might need to have the drawings.
So we're looking at, right now, we're looking at the subdivision map, so we all want to make sure we're on the same page with respect to the subdivision map.
Yeah,
So that's the question.
I see one called P1. Do you have that one, Lisa? If you click on the agenda. Yeah, which one is it? Is it that one? There's an M1. If you look on the agenda, there's 4 clickable links for this item, and the third one is subdivision. Yep. And if you click on that one, it's M1 for subdivision map. And that's dated 11/10. But then if you go to the first item on that. On the deposits down in daycare, and if you click on the site plan for that one, it's got a whole set. And the first sheet in that is also a subdivision map, and that's P. And that appears to be the package that we have without, but this has been revised, and the date on this is 4/3, but we've received, Stanford P received a 4/13, so
Is that, but is that the subdivision map though?
this is a whole set.
Well, so the map is what I'm,
We don't have this together, it's not something that is not here for 13.
They're online.
Site plan. Creating a planning, my one gave you some, but there's any, when you look at this.
You can look on the cover sheet, it'll tell you what's in here without clicking.
I've got
Oh, okay.
that's a site thing, no, that's not a subdivision.
No.
So the ones are online, not in our sets.
You should have everything that I have online. Where's subdivision map that you're referring to online?
On the agenda, like through the links.
Yeah, which one?
So
which
there's
link?
the first one, application and supporting documentation, Postage document care. And then you go down to site plan. It's like and you can click on that, and the first sheet in that set is P1. And then if you also go to the agenda and you go down to the third item, that's subdivision. And you click on that, then there is a subdivision application, and subdivision map. And there's the ZBA denial paperwork and all that is there.
So if. Help us out here. So we're looking, that's okay. So what are we looking at right now and what's the date of the map and?
This does not have
There's no date.
a date on there, but this is the only subdivision map that was put together by the surveyor. There have been no revisions to this map.
Can you pass that around?
Yeah.
When we had been before the board earlier, we were talking about the need for a variance, and that shows that.
No, go ahead. This, there's the.
That is this one. This one here is.
So Joe, does this show all of the improvements currently on the site? Or not? Anyone else?
Yes, this shows everything. Here's their house, the pool. Here's Ryan's, business. There's nothing to look at here.
Correct.
Yeah, so we got everything else that's here, yes.
Hey, I'm curious on why. The one you have in front of you is not signed, and the one I have, which apparently is the same identical.
Well, why this is a sign, he gave me, the surveyor gave me the PDF. So I printed out one to make it. But those with signatures working at the bench.
So this is it.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And the front thing here, the one you said that only been that way. It's nothing's gonna be done.
So. This one that Christine showed appears to be the map. Maybe we can work from that for discussion purposes. And then there is one in the hard copies, but not everyone has the hard copies. So go online. Did you find it online?
I found it
Okay.
on
That looks like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
sign.
With the two driveways.
And I signed.
For the subject.
No, it's just, it's not the site.
This is just the subdivision. So
Yeah, no,
that's just a division of the property.
It's the first drawing, the first item is subdivision section on the agenda. Subdivision 3. If you look at the agenda, it's the third item down under their project. So if you click on that, the signed drawing is the first one.
okay, yeah, now I see.
Right.
There, yeah, you're right. Go back, yeah. Go to something.
Now, I'm seeing two driveways, that we pull permits. County board of those.
These two are existing driveways.
There.
Where did they
There's,
go?
there's, there, Brian,
How long is it?
It's 20 years.
Where's the entrance for lot 5B going to be?
these are this,
Yes,
well, you want to show that on the subdivision map. So you're actually supposed to have what's on there, nothing more. So that's not on, what the side of the driveway, we show on. P1 or
can you
P2.
tell us where you intend to have the driveway put?
Yeah, that's right.
It's
It's in the pack.
So the concern I have with that is you're not showing the entrance grades or anything on here.
Well, that's on the site plan. I mean,
Yeah, but it's not shown at all. It's on the detail, but it's not shown how all that works with the grading.
Right, and that'd be more severe station with the team, because we're gonna do,
Yeah,
yeah, so that'll get you back.
but we would want to see all that.
Chairman Lupia, in your packet, I think that the one I pulled offline, sheet P1 shows the proposed location of the driveway that would service what is identified as lot 2. And it also shows the location of the 2 existing driveways. They're shown on the survey. That right here.
Thank you. Mr. Curtin, you're always helpful.
Thank you so much.
Lisa, was the subdivision map sent to the plan? Yes, this one. Yep. The Hertford County map. Yes. I believe I shared that.
Print it out if you want.
Yes, I'd be interested in hearing your comments.
All right, so. I don't think the use is a concern. I think that it is probably a very viable use in the community, but. Should that might not always be the use. And I think that was part of the concern that the ZBA, the way that they looked at the zone change and all that, but if that is off the table. And they're going back, to 13 feet different. Where does that fall? Sorry, I should be addressing. What's that?
I said it's fine.
Where does that fall and how does that impact things? Because there's a utility pole. Right, shown right near the edge of the proposed driveway. What other, are there any other underground, utilities and stuff there? I see there's a water valve, I assume there's water line, utilities are showing all coming through there.
We had provided the driveway location or anything to the DOT, and a letter was submitted to the town from the DOT saying, the proper where it's at.
Okay,
They didn't
I
go
can
through
see
it,
that.
they finally, it's been provided.
Okay,
They didn't go through and do like a final approval, we didn't go to that point, in case we shifted it.
yeah.
But the
that's-
guy from the DOT went out and said, yeah, I have no problem with stopping site inspections or anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't think there'd be a site distance issue there necessarily, but I would really like to see. You're showing the detail of the flare that comes into the road, but for us to be able to see that, how that relates to everything. And looking at all of that,
This is the same.
on the enlarged site plan drawing, the grading plan specifically in the back, the septic is being shown in a wooded area.
The septic is out. We're now gonna put it in sewer.
Right.
Road.
And then, P3, the grading plan. I think we would need to see a little bit more. Detail about the drainage around the building. Some spot drainage would be nice. I don't know, Doug, if we have standards for what we want to see for that. Just to make sure that the grading needs a little bit, I think, more detail. And then if you look down the driveway, there's a low area where there's potentially water coming across the driveway. I have to count the 889, area. So the water that's coming from the east is kind of shooting across this way, and there looks to be almost like a swale there.
There's sort of like a ditch going
No,
across.
halfway back near where the pinch point is.
Oh, back here,
Yeah, between the two, between the pinch point and the road,
okay,
if you look at the grading plan.
okay.
And the road grading isn't consistent with the way that the drainage would be. Like, if you look up towards where they'll call it that pinch point is, the drainage is coming down the middle of the road, but then it's shooting off to the side, and the same with the upper part where the parking is, and that's,
Yeah, this drainage, I'm not sure if it's clear on there, and I know our very, very first meeting we showed it. This drainage comes down like this and goes back this way. It doesn't really go out onto the road at all.
no,
It doesn't sit there or anything, so I'm saying it's gonna go down and goes back up.
yep, so we would want to see that's being provided for.
Yep.
With swales and a culvert, if one is needed under the driveway, nothing to do with the road work in the right way. If it's coming down and around, how to getting there. What spot grades might be.
Can I interrupt for just a second?
Sure,
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So I thought we were coming in tonight to do subdivision, and if subdivision was approved, then we would go with site plan. We are now well into site plan, so I'm trying to get an idea as to how we're.
These are all tied together.
Right.
They are intimately tied together. So I think we need to cover subdivision, site plan, special use permits, and move them all along in unison
Okay,
together.
that's fine, that's fine. I was always thought that the site, or the subdivision is void of anything that's gonna be done. And then site plan is, point after that.
Just for secret purposes, we'd like to move them along in parallel path.
That's fine, that's fine. No problem. Thank you.
skipping ahead to the planting plans. We've been trying to stay away from the arborvitae type species because of the deer.
Oh, okay.
I know that it's not called thuga anymore. I don't know when they changed that. How long ago did they change that?
Deer don't, not really sure.
It looks like, the handicap, striping details and possibly some other stuff on there might not be up to the current, ADA stuff, the graphics are not the current graphics, so.
I will check into it. They go through all the other towns and they fine. I'll check into it.
And it may be that you're referencing a code number or something, but the drawings should be showing exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah.
The traffic control devices item number is pointing to the signs, but there's no references on the striping and all of that. The driveway geometry detail is showing Route 57.
Oh, that's a mistake.
So that has to be changed, and then I was curious if DOT had come up with whether a 12-inch pipe is enough for underneath that entrance, there's a 15-inch one further up the road.
That can be, when it goes in for their review, that's when they determine that. Usually, and I'll just take one for it. Usually I throw 15.
Yeah,
So if that's a 12, I'll check that.
and I didn't know if you were, without seeing the grading plan for up at the road, I didn't know if there were cover issues or something, or you were gonna change pipe materials to deal with cover issues or
I'll check.
anything
Yep.
like that. And are there any concerns about the road going over, the road going over all those utilities?
The
Rather than
driveway,
running parallel next to it,
I don't think so.
no. That was really all I had. A lot of little stuff that it sounds like you would do anyway.
Well,
for
in
your
the
next
process of it.
submission.
But I appreciate your.
I think, I would just like to say as a board, I just think. Looking at the subdivision specifically, I think we need to think about as a board, do we create this type of flag lot in this area where this property may be in dog daycare now for 10 years from now? But it's still a highly residential area. We've got 2 residential lots in front of it, that are in front of that. In front of the subdivided lots, the back subdivided lot. So if someone were to live there residentially, eventually. That's a deep flag lot, so. Just throwing that out there.
I think you've now heard 3 different board members raise that same issue. That we have a concern for that.
Yeah.
Artie, anything?
Nothing to do with site plan or special use permit. It's strictly the subdivision. It just doesn't look right. It's a strange shape. What happens, Joe? When you go to sell it, you don't sell it 2 lots again as one piece. You subdivided them. But you got the same owner for both lots. What happens when somebody wants to get rid of one but keep the other? That lot on the right side is a real problem.
Oh, how so is the real problem?
Well, only gonna, if you have 2 different owners for A and B, I'm not sure the B owner is gonna be happy with that. Right now, you can walk across it because you're the same owner. And it's very convenient. But if you have 2 different owners, there might be a fence between those 2 lots, and all of a sudden, they're not quite as useful as they were before. They're not as easy to live with. I wouldn't want to buy that lot on the right for anything. It's my opinion.
Is that about 50 feet at that pinch point?
Any point? Yeah, I'd say. Probably close to 60 or 65.
Size is very strange. It looks like 65 feet. I mean,
Okay. Any further questions?
how's the sound? Is this, I don't know enough about this stuff, but
I'm concerned
Barking.
about the dogs,
is that a non,
It's not a subdivision.
No.
Per se.
No, but it's related to the use.
And, you know, insofar as, you know, topography of the land and where something can be reasonably built. That's an issue because it's an orderly development plan that is being looked at, so. To the extent that anything might have to be built close to the lot, if that's a concern of the board. You know, close to other lots, or the access is by a driveway that can only go into one spot. Because of the lot configuration, that's a consideration. If you're considering that.
I mean, is it, and this is just kind of thinking of it differently. Is this a business and a use that you personally want to take on, or is it something that you want?
We live there too, so we want to take it on.
I thought so, because I drove by, I drove by here all the time. Would it be at all feasible to add it behind your property now, and have it be part of your current property and not try and do this whole thing on the
We
side?
don't want to subdivide it. We were told that we had to subdivide it because we can't have more than 2 businesses on the same property. We never wanted to subdivide
No,
it.
that's not the reason is because the use is not accessory to a residential structure.
What do you- I thought that
The
was,
doggy daycare is not an accessory use.
we mean,
A residential structure. You're turning us like this you. So,
well, why are we subdividing it? We were told there were going to be more than 2 businesses on our same property.
no,
That's
that's
why.
not, That's not what it's about, not this particular one. The doggy daycare needs its own plot, not because of the how many you have necessarily, but because of the use is a separate use, it's not accessory.
But she just said if it was behind our house, that would be fine, that how that's.
No, I was asking if you considered that, I'm not saying any of it's fine.
Well, we were told now that we need several lots, so I don't really.
I didn't know, now that I'm here, it's. Like, is there another way to?
Subdivided.
Yes, there are other ways to subdivide it. If they subdivided it going towards the east and back. That would move everything further away. Then be more behind their property.
Can they subdivide the land?
Oh, you
So
said
that
that
they can take the dog and take care of it.
So they come in here, go that way.
Right.
I mean, I'm just trying to come up with.
This is just really off the wall, right? Would it be possible? Let's take the same point here, because that's 200 feet, okay? Taking the subdivision line this way, the doggy daycare back here, the rest of it just stays in the lot.
That's kind of what I'm thinking,
Okay,
is that
yeah,
possible?
so Jamie,
So,
Look to the west.
oh, no mistake, he's said it's not like this. And it's over here.
something like this, doing this, so you got your 200 feet. And then bring it up this way, we have to do the offset of the house. And then we'd have this all. So here, then this would be a one.
You'd be eliminating some issues. You'd be almost eliminating the flag issue.
Yeah.
You'd be moving it further west away from the residents that are.
Yeah, and we're just next to the
west.
Right.
How far away would it be from the business next door? Here.
If you put it out back here.
There are several commercial businesses, so we have a commercial back right next to us. We have, Miss Evans has 2 apartments behind her residence. We have a group home across the road from us, a same room group home, so we're not in a residential area, we're right on the main road. So there's nothing like,
I know where you are.
yeah, you came out to our house and I walked.
I'm just wondering if there isn't. Another way.
Mr. Mastriano, your customer here has an alternative. They can look to modify this, or they can proceed forward, and if they proceed forward, we'll schedule this for a public hearing on all the issues on the subdivision. The special use permits, site plan. But from what you are hearing, I think you may have a problem with this board.
Well, based on the comments, Mr. Chairman, that we've heard. By between you, and addressed to Mr. Mastriano. If you were to, if the plan was to be amended to eliminate this line,
We need 150, so. it would be-
you've got 200 feet already, point to point.
That's what we're running, yeah, we don't need to.
So it is feasible to do what is being suggested. And if that was being presented, that would be a conventional lot.
Right.
And
Yes.
this is pre-existing, so there's not much you can do about that. It still will have a jog, but right now, there's a jog in the existing parts. But if we were to do that, would that be more agreeable to this board for purposes of ongoing conversation? And if so, I'm going to recommend that to my clients. Okay.
I feel like it's,
My attitude, and I'm just one number, as Richard said.
We're keeping the.
Yes.
current
Okay,
situation the way it is
so
for the
let's at this point in time, because this is critical to the rest of the application. The rest of the discussion. This also places the potential activity, the proposed activity, closer to the existing vet. Small animal vet, so somewhat, there's a little simpatico there, in my opinion. So if we were to ask for a continuation, so we can amend this, would that be acceptable?
Absolutely.
Right?
That seems acceptable.
Sorry if I overstepped or resigning.
No, I think that this has been very helpful, and yeah, the objective is to work proactively with the board and to come to a solution that is within the confines of the code, but also assist our clients in moving forward with what they'd like to do.
The comments you have in the previous lecture, you heard some of the comments with respect to what would go there commercially is going to be much more mitigated.
Right.
On the other
No,
side.
I get that, yep, I see it.
I don't know what the side setback is for the house, but just.
Can't give a guarantee, but based on.
No, I get it. It would be a far more appealing presentation.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You have to work out the internal circulation. Vehicular, I mean,
No, we have. Okay, so like, it's gonna be.
You are granted a definite this moment. So you can come up with more drawings and then we'll put it right back on our agenda again. And I thank you for listening to us. And I thank you for giving consideration to our concerns.
No, well, in the meantime, we hope to get rid of some of these filings that you've already got because they seem to be conflicting. So we'll get submit a whole new pack.
That'll be great.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
should that go to you guys? Well, I asked about the curb and stuff, and they must have had it back and see it before, but he's supposed to.
After you review it, why don't we give it to Lisa and put it in our files?
I think this came on.
Thanks. Sir, is there anything to bring here?
We had a football game.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is an application by Botar LLC. This is for a recommendation to the town board regarding a potential zone change from R1 to RM. This is property specifically located at 7078 East Genesee Street, Fayetteville. This is all under one tax map number 092-1-5. Yes, good evening, Mr. Cole.
Good evening.
This is the first time you've appeared in front of us.
I think it might be here, it's been a while, but my name is Mike Vogel. I'm a land use attorney. I'm representing the applicant, Botar LLC. As the chairman indicated, we've applied to the town board to rezone the property at 7078 East Genesee Street from R1 to RM, the residential multi-use district, in order to put a professional office at the property, specifically the Botar law firm.
Will they live there?
No,
No.
no, it's just gonna be for professional office use specifically for their law. So in reviewing this, and by the way, I should add that they're the contract vendee, so they currently have a contract to purchase the property, but no transactions actually closed yet. So in looking at this, the potential, zoning options and reviewing the properties next to and along that corridor, it really made sense to seek rezoning to the RM zone. Most of the properties, similar situated properties along State Route 5 there, East Genesee Street corridor, are either zoned RM, and there's a couple that are actually zoned commercial, a couple of dentist offices next to it. And further reviewing, so we think it fits in with that stretch of Route 5, well. And in further reviewing the RM district and really the intent of that district, it really fits really perfectly with this property because it was really meant to ensure that these nice old residential homes that really aren't marketable anymore for residential use could continue to be a productive use. So the RM district was great. It was really well suited for this property. So that's the zoning district that we've applied for. Now we know that we have a few additional steps, obviously, from here. We appeared in front of the town board. They referred us to you for your recommendation. After your recommendation, we have to return to the town board, which, you know, they'll then have to schedule a public hearing and propose local law to actually rezone the property. Assuming that that goes through, we then have to return to this planning board for site plan review and I believe another public hearing. So in connection with that, we have engaged with Keplinger Freeman to help us develop the site plan for when we come back, assuming that the town board approves its own change. But tonight we're here, you know, obviously to answer any initial questions you might have, but hopefully seeking your positive recommendation back to the town board for the zone change. So thank you.
First of all, I gotta say, that building is beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, I looked at the pictures because it's on the market, so I went, sure, cool. It's gorgeous. Other than the zone change, what other contingencies are in the purchase contract?
I'm actually not handling the real estate piece of it.
Okay.
So I was just brought on to handle this aspect of it.
Okay.
I couldn't say.
What are they gonna do with the pool?
There's no plans to do anything other than just leave it as is.
No outside changes.
No, in fact, you know, there's no interest in that. They think that the building as it is could accommodate the law office.
Does this board know what that building was and who owned it? Does this board know that?
This is not a public hearing, so therefore not gonna listen to the audience at this point in time. In fact, there will be no public hearing in front of this board. It'll be the town board that will make any determinations. We're just making a recommendation, whether it's followed or not by the town board, that'll be their choice. And they will make that choice after they have a public hearing, at which you would be entitled. Questions by our board?
Now, with the zone change, just as in the last case, you mentioned,
Now, who are you and why do you think you can speak?
I'm Jack Hopper, I live adjacent to that property, and I am concerned with many things. I would like to just at least get on the table, but
Okay, this is not a public hearing, sir. Therefore,
we just want to make sure that you're aware of all of the conditions around that property, to even make the decision for the zone board to be considering this proposal. And you might not have all the information. And you should research that, I would request, without this being a public hearing advice.
we will research anything that we deal important and relevant to the issue of zone change.
So usually what I usually do, remind the board of what can go, if this zone change happens, what uses can go there. We know you want a law office, but these are all the uses that could go there if they no longer be a law office, or just never even end up buying it if the zone changes. And those are artisan maker, congregate care services, farmers market, gathering places, professional offices, personal services establishments, apartments for residential use, restaurants, including coffee, then by special permit. Okay, if it comes to that, restaurants including coffee houses, fast casual fine dining, but not including fast food as determined by the planning board, a bakery, indoor entertainment facilities, and retail as long as it's a maximum of 50% of the existing building. No drive-throughs. And if it ever then comes to site plan, the character of the building should be determined and maintained, et cetera.
In our recommendation, can we limit? Or at least make a recommendation to limit certain uses?
No,
But
because our code is, here's the zone, here's your use.
What do they do now in the zone where they don't?
It's a residential, they can have a house.
But they do a law office by like
They can
special
go on
law.
this way, they live there.
So the only way they could do it.
Really, they might be able to say if the lawyer lived there.
What about in RM? So there does not have to be any sort of residential.
That is correct.
Even though it's RM.
Correct.
Okay. I will point out now that we have a comprehensive plan to look to those that are interested. In the comprehensive plan, the future land use map along that stretch of Route 5 past Town Center towards DeWitt. It is marked for neighborhood mixed use / commercial. Just providing that information.
neighborhood mixed, that's not even the zoning classification.
Right, it's not a zoning
It doesn't have to
classification,
be.
it's future land use map. In the comprehensive plan.
So what does that mean?
It just means that the town board thinks that it's appropriate for those kinds of uses. As opposed to continuing.
And so,
Because I know when we were looking at zone changes, we're always like, oh, we wish we had a comprehensive plan. So now we do, and that's what's in there, and I mean, they've talked about possibly changing zones, the names of zones, what's in zone. But they haven't done that yet, but I'm just saying on page 52 of the comprehensive plan. Is the future land use map, just as information for us.
Somebody wanna live there?
No, it was on the market for over a year and a half as a
Lived there
resident.
entire 20, 30 years that I've been there. It's always been, sir. You can get some information off the side, yeah.
Sir, if you continue to talk, I'm gonna have to ask you to speak, please. Any other comments?
Just clarification. In the town of DeWitt, the company I work for has a piece of property in a business district that when they changed it to business use, they put restrictions on no drive. And if you look at the zoning map, they have little stars on those properties. So I guess I'll ask the question.
I
again.
will show you, that was many years ago when those kinds of things were done.
It was absolutely, yeah, it was probably 12, 15 years ago. And so what you're saying is we couldn't say, in this case, we don't want it to be a restaurant, we don't want it to be retail, we don't want it
That
to
is
be.
correct.
So once we do RM, they can do whatever's in the RM.
Correct.
And even though we're not the ones voting on it, it's simply a recommendation.
Correct.
This
Okay,
is only a
It
recommendation.
does specifically say in there that there's no drive-throughs permitted.
right. I think I mean, there's that whole. The whole idea of RM back in the 1990s was for that quarter. And to change this from R1 to RM, I think is consistent with what has been done for the last 20 or 30 years. So I personally have no problem with it.
The use is consistent with what the use is. There are a number of attorneys' offices right along that stretch. I think it's consistent.
Yeah, we recently had, not recently, I guess, but. At least since I've been on the board, we did a property near here. And that was our, for real estate.
There's that whole corridor,
Yeah,
there's real estate dentists, attorneys,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, the property has been on the market for a long time, and it's like you saying.
You want-
Locality, it's not even residential,
Even if it's nice thing done,
yeah,
the cost of maintaining it.
right.
Does someone feel comfortable making a recommendation, making a
I'll
motion.
make a motion. Okay.
Motion to recommend to the town board, we approve the zone change.
Motion by Aaron,
Second.
second by Richard. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Gentlemen, I know you have things you want to say. We just make a recommendation. We don't make the final decision. The town board will, and the town board will give you an opportunity to tell them what you feel and why you feel. Bring whatever documentation you have that you feel is relevant to the town board. So we are making a recommendation to them that we have no objection. Okay,
We won't have site plans at that point. You won't know any future plans for the property, correct?
no, that might eventually come back before this board.
Okay.
Thank you.
And are we allowed to say something during that meeting as well, during the site plan meeting?
During the public hearing.
During the public
Yeah.
hearing.
Public
No,
hearing.
but it-
Yeah, but before that, if you have something to tell the town board what your concern is and what.
I appreciate your thoughts and your communication. I would express my opinion that I think this board is operating on a lack of information.
You are entitled to your opinion, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fogel, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
The next item on our agenda is an application by Bob Amodi. This is for a recommendation to the town board regarding a planned unit development of the Garden Park. This is phase 1 on High Bridge Street in Fayetteville. Next map number 93-1-5.1. Good morning, sir. And good evening.
Good evening, I'm Chris Danaher, I'm an attorney in Syracuse. My address is 1 Linden Lane, Fayetteville. I'm here tonight with Scott Freeman and Anthony Reynos. We also have Denise Root here from Brookdale. A little bit of a history, we're here tonight for a PUD recommendation to the town board. When we were before this board last time, we were talking about a zone change. And a recommendation to the town board for a zone change from what currently is zoned as commercial to an R5. This board recommended to the town board the zone change. We then appeared before the town board and in that period realized that with the zoning that the town currently has, that it probably wouldn't accommodate the apartment units that we're trying to put on the property, the number without a variance because of the usable green space. So in the interim, the PUD district became part of the town law. So we took a different direction. And that was to make, instead of the zone change, to have a PUD. So we met with the town board, presented the town board, and now we're back here before this board to have a recommendation for a PUD with respect to this property. What we're proposing is senior housing. Everything else is the same as what we had before this board before, which is senior housing. We feel it's connectivity with both the community and with the Brookdale facility seems to fit like a glove. We just think the use is right for that property, and we understand that right now, this is just a referral or a recommendation to the town board. Once we go to the town board, and if the town board were to approve the PUD, and then we understand that we have to go before this board's site plan review and get into the details before this board of site-specific issues related to a number of things that we understand that this property would need to be addressed and be brought forward. But right now, we're talking about the PUD. But we can present to you what our initial concepts are with the site plan, if this board would like to see some renderings. But when we were before the town board, a few things that they did mention was parking, land banking or banking some parking. So we tried to accommodate that one thing, more green space for the site and bank some parking. Another thing was the slope stability. We've understood that from day one with this board, with the town board, We realize that that will need to be addressed, the neighbors will require it to be addressed. We recognize that, we appreciate it, and we believe it's really a site plan issue. We haven't gotten into it. We will engage the necessary professionals when the time comes to address that issue. They talked about sidewalks, connectivity with and we're near the village, we're not in the village. But we recognize that, the importance of that. Traffic study, we presented a traffic study, the traffic trip counts are minimal. 11 cars an hour at peak times, very, very nominal. They also mentioned outdoor, we're gonna have an outdoor pavilion, we're gonna have a walking area for the residents to accommodate their needs, and some indoor meeting rooms, exercise rooms, fitness equipment rooms. So we know that that will be addressed in site plan. And then just the overall design, which we believe is really, really a nice development, and again, something that will fit well with Brookdale. We're talking about in the PUD, having an accommodation for family members of the residents of Brookdale that meet the income requirements that we're working through with the town board on the workforce. Minimum set aside requirements for income levels of 5% to also accommodate the residents, the family of the residents of Brookdale, because we believe this facility is important to them. And I think they appreciate that. One thing that this board, I think, mentioned in our initial meeting was the dedication of the road. There's an agreement in place about the dedication of the road. We understand that tests will need to be performed on it to make sure it's up to town standards, but it serves two properties, and we believe that's the direction we would like to go with the dedication of that roadway.
Chris, that has always been an issue, that there has been no access to this property. And I, for one, I'm not sure what other members would speak to, and I'm not sure of the process, but I'm dead set against the town accepting that roadway, whether it was constructed to town standards or not. It should simply be easement between the two owners that you have access to get to this other piece of property. And I would absolutely reject the idea of the town accepting that roadway. But that's just my thoughts and thinking on this. It should be a private road like it is now.
To that, I think that, and I can't speak to Brookdale, but I think it's an important aspect that that would be dedicated because of the cost and expense to maintain.
Why would the town ever want to do that? Why
do they want to do any roads? Because it serves two properties. It will meet the standard required by the town when it's dedicated. And it's not a significant roadway.
Well, I guess, and I'm not sure if that's a site plan issue, it's a town board issue, I don't know where this goes, but I'm dead set against that becoming a town road.
Understood, and I do, and I hear you, and I think we talked about this at our initial meeting when we went with the recommendation to the town board for the zone change. I think it's more of a site plan issue, and so I think we'll be having a deeper dive into that.
But if you don't have access at this point in time, how can we approve a PUD?
Because that's a site plan issue, first of all, but second,
We don't have access, you don't have.
we have an agreement, right now, we have an agreement in place for dedication, an executed agreement now. So, I mean. So
Between who?
the owner of that property, the Brookdale facility, has agreed to dedicate that property to the town.
Who owns it right now?
Brookdale.
Chris, I have a different opinion than Rich. We disagree on a lot of things. But from a legal point of view, I have no problem whether it's a dedicated road or an easement. I think that judgment would be mostly Mr. Cushing's as to whether it's appropriate or not. But my concern is, this has been an issue for over 12 years, my recollection. I was hoping that we'd at least see, you would provide us with this documentation
And I apologize, the supervisor has it, I shared it with the town, but you must not have it.
We have not seen it.
I can send it to you tomorrow, I have it,
So just for
a copy of it.
So for clarification, so I understand this. Brookdale has agreed. If they dedicate that roadway. I mean, obviously you would have access to the property. But there's no intention of giving you an easement without a dedication.
To say no intention, I can't, they haven't gone down that road, because the intention and the focus has been, and the issue in the past has been, to not be willing to dedicate. So the road they have gone down is to sign an agreement for dedication. As to whether if they didn't, if the town was unwilling to accept the dedication, would they grant an easement? We haven't had that discussion.
That's the question I have. That is precisely my question. If the town says no, don't want that roadway, are they willing to give you an easement?
I guess then I would ask the highway supervisors who are willing to take dedication, which it's always seemed to me to be that that was the route we were gonna go down. But why would we have that discussion about easement if it's unnecessary?
Because if you don't have access, you don't have.
Property has to have it. You can't have a landlocked piece.
That's exactly what happened right now. That's precisely.
That's why the town has the, I mean, otherwise you, the town has subdivided a property, properly subdivided a parcel, not providing access.
Well, couldn't they just make a curb cut on High Bridge? I mean, it doesn't suit the development.
You got.
Site visibility.
Site visibility.
So where they could-
It's not because you want to, but that's not.
That's the safest point to address.
It's very, yes.
What,
So for a number of reasons, where the curb cut is being presented and has been presented is the safest.
It's the
but
best
it's
place.
not a landlocked parcel.
No,
No,
No, I
Right,
guess,
because you could if you had.
I
to,
get,
even
if
though
we could
it's
get, yeah.
Or-
Curb cut would work.
For another use, but I think what you're doing. entirely.
Can I ask a different question? Is it okay? What were, when you said you had to move to the PUD, what were the main limitations or restrictions that made you switch to a PUD?
I don't know the number, Scott, you know the number of units. There's usable green space because, yeah, that's because the hillside.
usable landscape, a lot yield.
Because of the
Yeah,
slope?
because the slope isn't usable.
Okay,
Track the slope area out, unit count would be like, I'll just throw 50.
This is density, the density.
Yeah, density, bottom line is
It's a density limitation.
I think this board is in a position that it can make a recommendation to the town contingent upon them providing proof that they have access, whether it be a dedication of the road or an easement. They both have the same legal effect, to a degree. And I think we're in a position that we can make a recommendation if you deem it appropriate.
I like the looks of the project. I mean, I think it's a good use of the property.
Where's that drawn?
Your district plans.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not.
Would you mind if we turn to these, speak a minute, just from the Brookdale's perspective?
There we go.
Want to come up to these for a second, just to talk about, and you, I know Denise has spoken, I don't know if you spoke before the planning board, the town board, before.
I get two there, so.
Yeah, but they're not done.
No, that one's not colored in, fully in the center, it's not colored in.
Well, they're different. That's-
That's different than what we have.
Yeah, that's why I asked, where's that drawing?
We updated it.
not instant.
Ah. Need you
Stay
to-
with what? We,
yeah, that's covered. I'm thinking.
Hello. I've been the executive director for Brookdale Fayetteville at this community for 2 years, and we're actually very excited for this to happen. I have currently 3 families right now that have loved ones that are living in our building. One lives in Watertown, one lives in Auburn, and one lives in Dryder. And it's very difficult for them to drive pretty much every day to come see their loved one because, you know, when you've been married over 50 years and your spouse is now dementia, they want to be with them for as many hours as they can for the end of their time. And just to be able to have an apartment that's right there where they can just walk across. We're gonna have pathways that are all gonna be joining, so our residents can walk around, they can walk around with their loved one. We think this is huge and it's very important. And I know you're concerned about the road, but from my understanding, with all the research that I had done, that Gramercy Circle had originally been intended to be a public road, and when the lot was split, something along the lines of the bank, they needed to have it accessed for Brookdale, or they want the bank would fund it. So we've been going round and round trying to get this taken care of so that that lot can be used for something. And then when, you know, we found out it was going to be a high-end apartment building that my residents' families live in. This is huge. This is very important. And we're totally on board with this, and we're doing everything we can to get this going so that it's something that can be viable to my people.
So if I understand what you're saying, if the town does not accept that as a public road, you'd be willing to give an easement to allow.
We're gonna figure something out to make this work.
Okay, all right. I wanted to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think your district plan is very well devised. And I think that would be beneficial for the community. What you're intending to do.
And we are still working through the town board understanding that would be the next level of this board or to.
I would entertain a motion either for or against the planned unit development.
I'll make a motion for a
Second.
positive recommendation for the plan unit development.
Second by Arnie. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And we will be sending, but we are trusting that you will send us.
It's always tomorrow.
Thank you, Chris.
Attorney tomorrow's. Scott, one question that I ask every month is, how do you get rid of the boulders? How do you what? Get rid of the boulders.
Sell them.
I want.
You mean on this site you're talking about? All from the prior, all kidding aside, from the prior. That's Bill Candelino's, the things that he dumps. We should get.
No, he has boulders to stop and get on the property.
What are you gonna do?
No, there was, are you referring to material, excess? Stone that was dumped,
Yeah.
improv, that's what they're referring to. This was
Yeah.
earlier, this is a loose end from the last project. And like.
Yeah,
I
we
understand
talked
it,
about, we're the contract vendee, and we recognize all the testing and everything else.
But I don't think that we should.
It's an open violation.
We should clean up the violation before we get into the planning process. I don't want to speak.
Well,
for
when
the
you
town.
come back to us with site plan approval,
Oh, yeah.
we will be.
That will be a discussion.
we hope so that.
Because I believe the codes officer issued a grading and fill violation, right?
We should clean up the violation.
Got it.
So that has not been,
No, we're not.
we
gonna
talked
ask.
about it,
Yeah,
Yes, we did.
right?
and that should happen before everything else.
They'll have to tell us what they want to do about it.
You gonna remove it?
They don't know. even-
I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah. They're
Right
not
at Arnie's point, how do you
creative
build
ways
it?
of dealing
No,
with it.
I'm kidding, yeah, we're gonna.
As long as you.
Yeah, and the geotech,
I know Chris is a player
Yeah.
in that position,
their
it's not
geotech
an area
will
of
tell us what they
expertise,
want
but
to do
it certainly is an area of curiosity.
and then stamp it, so we know.
Well, Anthony's right there.
I heard.
Accessibility,
Arnie,
ADA.
Anthony might have an answer.
What was the question?
Are you gonna go out and move the boulders with your blue jeans?
Me personally?
Or are you gonna build on top of it?
I don't think that the quality of that, would you have to see the quality of what was dumped there, and if it was appropriate to be used as a brush fill or something that we could do within the product use within the project, but we'll get some professionals to kind of grade that material and see if it's usable or not.
There'll be a bunch of interesting geotechnical solutions
Yeah.
for the site in general, so
If it is a combination of material of both mixed crushed and larger boulders and whatnot, maybe we could redistribute the larger ones for landscaping features. And use for other, else, but we'd have to take a look at what we've done.
But there's really two questions. One is the violation, and two is
Yeah.
the material usable. So you wouldn't want to address violation, move it off plate, and then have a study come back saying you can reuse it. So I think we need to expedite the stability study and then analyze as well. If it's reusable, that could be part of the violation. We got it.
Because it'd be cheaper if you didn't have to worry.
Right.
I know, you could, it could be.
It's got to
perfectly
be
fine.
a gradation. Anything that's, larger than 4 or 5 inches will not go below still.
Okay, we need to move on. We have a work session we need to get into.
But really, yeah, I guess we'll start.
So before you begin, I think I need to put something on her. This applicant has brought before this board plans previously. And that resulted in litigation and lawsuits against us. That fact will have no bearing whatsoever in our determination or decisions on this. However, it does have bearing on how we conduct meetings. And this particular meeting is being conducted with our full board here, so that there will be no accusations as to what was said or not said to this board. With that understood, let's see what we can do to resolve issues.
Ready?
I just like, poor Scott, and we can appreciate that, and at least I'm new to this, but we've been doing this for a little while. But I try to separate the past and the present, as this board has, and we can appreciate everything you guys have done. We appreciate it, and we hope that we keep moving forward on this. So we thought, we were at the last meeting, Jamie had a list of comments, general comments. And I think what we're trying to do is address those along with work through anything else that this board sees. And then we will take back the feedback from tonight and present a new set of plans addressing the comments, the work session comments from tonight.
Yeah, that's great. All right, I'll start with our interpretation from the notes given last time. I think we'll start off with, anyway, before I get into it. Vince has not made the changes to the drawings, but he will call up the drawings that I'm speaking to. So I'll start off with comment 1A, Woodland Subdivision Plat Plan. This has been completed by the surveyor, but was not included within the most recent town commission set, as you noted. The Woodland Hills Subdivision Plat has been added to the set, and if we can go to that image, we'll show you that. The comments made at the last meeting where the plat plan shall include a buffer area, storm sanitary easements for each lot. So I just want to go over, this is the plat plan. So this is the whole project. So I'm going to spend a minute on this. I think this is important. So in 15 lots, here's your 15 lots going around the outside. Here's the existing lot. So that's 16. So you got 15 lots, 4 in the middle, 2 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here. That's the existing lot. And then we have, I forget what we call that, what's that called? It's on there. We call it the HOA on there. That's it. That's where the detention basin is. So this is its own lot. Within this document, we have stormwater easement, which intercepts the water from the uphill properties and continues around into the basin here. So it's stormwater easement number 1. We have stormwater easement number 2. It collects water through the middle of these lots. Goes through some pipes and then goes into the detention basin this way. And then we had 2 easements that were requested to be removed with the pipes. But we'll get back to that. I want to skip my list first, if you don't mind. So before I keep talking,
any questions in general on the configuration of the plat plan. This was provided by our surveyor, so this is what I would call a preliminary plat plan. It's subject to Mr. Miller's final engineering comments. It's subject to our final discussion on what happens with removal of these two easements and anything else that this board feels is imperative. One more thing, Rich, I said I turned over to you, but I have one more thing. We have a sanitary easement that takes the gravity stormwater system this way, sanitary system. That's a sanitary easement there also.
Scott. So having my eyes examined, could you focus that a little better? I've got great vision, but that is fuzzy.
Can you zoom that, zoom in a little bit? Did we bring the hard copy of this? Here. Okay, you know what, if you want, I can roll out.
Yes,
plans
that'd
right
be
here.
great.
I think these are.
No, this is-
They're pretty good.
So, everybody, get a pen, start marking, start talking. Check that out.
I always say my comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Looking at I have always disliked drainage ways on private lots. I've always felt and believed that they should be part of the common area with an understanding that the HOA maintains them with an easement to the town, that if the HOA doesn't maintain them, the town can come on, take care of them, and then back charge the HOA or the residents for the maintenance. So I don't like all these drainage ways on private lots.
But you have to have easements to get the water to the pond. So this easement and these easements that feed the water into the detention pond.
Yeah.
They will be easements in favor of the HOA. Okay, the HOA will maintain them, and then.
And the HOA documents would state that.
And then, yeah, and then there will be a declaration that, and first of all, there will be an easement recorded in favor of the HOA to maintain and repair these easements. Then there will be a declaration in favor of the HOA that says we maintain the easements, the detention basin, the common area. And then what you've asked for, which I've done, and we will do as part of the submission, is that if we don't, HOA, if you don't, then the town has the right to with that church.
So we would just put that right in the
I
easement.
think if I put it right in the declaration.
That's
So
what should-
then every owner that buys these properties will see that declaration. And see what it says, which is what they're telling you.
Rich, to your point, just say, okay, the HOA doesn't do what they're supposed to do. We have a 100-year storm event, this thing fills up with mud. There's also an access easement here. This isn't only a drainage easement.
Yeah.
So if the HOA falls short, doesn't follow through, the town, there's an access easement, you can come into the detention basin, with a flat top on the top of the basin, so you can access it there. And you go through the basin and go up here, and you have access to that.
My focus on this is because I've been involved in projects before. And a homeowner buys, doesn't fully understand. And his kids want to play soccer in the backyard, so he brings fill in to fill in that drainage swale.
We've seen it.
And all of a sudden you got a problem.
Well, I can't guarantee you that's not going to be the case, but there's gonna be easements. A survey when they buy that's gonna show an easement, and they're gonna have the declaration. They're not smart if they're doing that, because they're put on notice.
Well, all homeowners are smart.
I agree, but we can only do so much.
I understand.
Yeah.
But I've always believed that it was part of the HOA property, then the HOA would have more oversight. Now, maybe with an easement, if it's properly written, they would have the oversight.
They would, but your alternative is saying, put you're saying this shouldn't be an easement, this should be fee title to the HOA, which in my opinion. You want, now you're splitting a lot. You have this person owning this, and then through the middle of it is ownership of the HOA.
I agree.
My chairman is saying, I'm wrong.
I think we get to where you want to be with the easement.
As long as it's written properly. And the town has the ability to do something about it, if it's not handled properly, then I guess I'm okay with it. Because I was told I had to be okay with it from my chairman and attorney.
An HOA is another level to ensure that it happens in a traditional subdivision. I've showed up in neighborhoods where people said, what happened in my backyard? He illegally built your easement.
It happens.
It does, I've seen it.
Yeah.
And as long as the notation is on the subdivision map, when they reduce it to an individual lot map, that we show that there, and
But I think what we were talking about, excuse me, Joe, was something more specific. Like a note, like easement,
Drainage easement to HOA or.
it's yes, is maintained by the homeowners association, and also runs to benefit of town if not maintained, something like that. So we're trying to be really specific so that when people buy these properties and their lawyer sits with them at a closing and says, you know, in case you're not glazed over, we can about this.
So can I ask a couple of questions about that?
Yeah.
A lot of times what I see happen with these is that it gets forgotten, right? And it doesn't get maintained. And so I've never done one like this, but is it possible to have it even more explicitly written as to what your SWIP says? The maintenance
Exactly,
needs to be?
I totally agree, and we've done that on other projects.
Yeah, so you say,
The SWIP has a document for a lot of our municipal and city projects where a twice a year inspection is required, once in the spring, once in the fall.
well, not even just that,
Yeah,
but that if it's got this type of grass species and these check-ins, I don't know what the slopes are, like whatever it is, this is how it's gonna be maintained. And I know that in the back, you're gonna provide the owner with the maintenance checklists that they need to use. But that the owners of the properties know that the HOA is gonna hire somebody to come through twice a year and brush hog this 15 or 20 feet. And in the course of doing that, they would know you're not gonna get the woody vegetation that comes up that collects debris that blocks these things that causes problems. You're gonna see if somebody's decided to kind of turn it into their own personal little wonderland, like.
I think I hit the nail on the head. I think we have to take the SWIP and bridge connection to the HOA, and because it's all in
It's
there.
done.
What happens in the SWIP on a commercial project, it's all there, but on a residential project, it's turned over to individuals and it falls apart.
Right.
But where you have an HOA, you can keep the maintenance to a higher level.
You can either put it in the easement agreement, or you can put it in the declaration, how specific you want, what you want.
It's already done. It's already done, because depending on the style of stormwater management, whatever that is designed as and called. From DEC will tell you how it has to be maintained.
Yeah, we have,
So
it's right where your SWIP has,
Okay.
how to maintain the basics.
Yes,
how to
we can
maintain the swell.
piggyback it into a recorded instrument, which any buyer would be on notice.
But not just the basin part, it's like all these other
SWIP,
things.
yeah, the swells, the structure, the SWIP
So
is
that people
is the
know
whole system.
when they're out there, that when somebody comes through with a big mower, that is not their property to be concerned about. And it kind of makes people notice more, and then they get used to seeing it done. And then somebody's putting eyes on it, however often that needs to be, because those I think are where the failures start to begin to happen.
Realistically speaking, just as a homeowner myself and planning board member, we're talking 15 homes. And I don't know if the 16th home is going to be included as part of the HOA. For now, we haven't received the HOA documents. I don't know about the HOA. Realistically, when we're talking about all of this maintenance and upkeep for 15 homeowners, and I don't know what the current market rate of these homes is going to be at this point as of September 2023 now. What are we looking at for HOA fees and realistic expectations for maintaining all of this on a constant basis? Sounds like a lot for 15, possibly 16. homeowners that are putting into a pot to maintain all of this?
I think Scott, you can probably speak a little bit to the maintenance. I don't think it's a lot. Once it's initially constructed, I don't think the maintenance costs are very significant. But you have to, there's a whole nother level of review here. Because it's an HOA, it has to go to the Attorney General's office.
Right.
And they have to review a budget. You have to have quotes. So it's a pretty intensive review at the Attorney General's office to see if this will stand on its own or fail. And so that will be dealt with. We haven't gotten that far yet, but it will be dealt with. It has to get approved from the Attorney General's office.
Okay, I'm just talking about we're hiring.
No, I mean, Aaron's making a recommendation. You're making a statement based on the number of units that are there. I think on a basic SWIP, if you do an inspection twice a year, to Terrence's point, instead of saying it shall be mowed, maybe we write into the HOA that the HOA is responsible for a spring mowing and a fall mowing, just to send a message that we're here, we're inspecting it, and it's written right in there. We're gonna walk the basin, walk the property. But it's not gonna be mowed on a weekly basis by the HOA. It's not variability. It's not that type.
I don't think that it's something that we can decide right now what the maintenance would be. The maintenance would be determined by the design of the base.
Yeah,
Design of all
that's
this
fine.
stuff.
I just want to make sure it's realistic and I'm going off of the county planning board recommendation as well. Because they said the viability of this long term for this few residences for such a large area. That's why I want to make sure that it makes sense.
I mean, and you can correct me, but I would think for this stuff, a quarterly mowing to keep the woody vegetation down would be. I mean, I'm not saying that that's what should be done. I'm not making a recommendation on specific maintenance items, but it's more along those lines than it would be that somebody's going out there every week. Right, so
Yeah,
it
and I
might
didn't
be
know
more
about
specialized
the
equipment than a local home,
the pond and all that stuff.
I think we
too.
can write something. I think all your points will be integrated in our report. I think we're gonna come back and we'll be down to 2 or 3 points. We've done similar agreements.
And some things you don't want mowed all the time, because you're ruining the way the vegetation works biologically.
Basin, I would say, twice a year. I would.
Depends on
that every
which
week.
basin you
Yeah.
design, I didn't look, but. Some of it, you want it to become lush with stuff, and you're just keeping rooting things down, but you really want all that stuff to grow, because that's how the pollutants get.
And plant diversity.
Yeah.
Plant everything else. So
Did you say the Secretary of State approves the HOA that?
Yes.
Attorney
And the numbers.
And the numbers, so you supply a budget. They indicate what the reserve should be from the developer prior to turning it over to the HOA.
We propose figures with supporting documentation. And then they critique, comment on the whole package for the HOA. It's not just a budget, it's a number of items.
But I guess what I'm concerned about is, are there reserves that are set up before turning it over? Okay, yeah, okay.
So in regards to the plat plan, the one item I did not discuss, which was mentioned by Jamie last week, is buffer areas. And the buffer area is a term, I think, left over from the previous project. When you're according to this project, the design intent is to clear enough vegetation to construct the road, the building envelopes, and the drainage easements. And if there's leftover vegetation on the perimeter of the property, we leave that to the discretion of the homeowner. Let me just continue on a little bit more. On lots. There's lots for those. The 1.2 right here. If we go to the planting plan a little bit. Skip ahead there, Megan. On earlier plans, we had the drainage easement upwards of the site, in the middle of the site, but we weren't comfortable with getting all the water out and pushed it to the perimeter. And then we realized that we're in close proximity to those neighboring properties. So if you could slide that up a little bit, I got it the wrong plan. Anyway, town code says 2 trees per lot, so we're actually short on that. So every lot will have 2 street trees. We've also added, when we get to it, We put some evergreens here to be sensitive to whole lanes. We put some evergreens here, put some evergreens here. And we relocated some of the is that coming up? Let's go to the picture. That's what we brought both. Yeah. Go get it in another place.
Technology.
So the design intent was we moved this well over, so we put some evergreens here, some evergreens here. Some evergreens here, some evergreens here.
Hold it back in, or it's still along the edge? I'm sure you're gonna-
We put the easement to the outside and we put some, and the developer said he would like to add some evergreens to be sensitive to that. Some screening. So anyway, we have some evergreens here, we have some evergreens here, we have some evergreens up there screening those roads, and we have two trees per lot.
Road, oh,
Yeah, here. So. Then there's other areas, I believe you live right there, right? One of these houses is right here. We were taking out these two drainage easements, I'm jumping around a little bit, but if you take that drainage away. The water is not gonna go towards the street that way, it's gonna flow towards that. So it's gonna flow into those trees. So Doug, Ford, that's a question. We could let the water flow towards the woods. And leave the trees. Or we could take the trees down and put a drainage swale to take it to the bottom of the hill.
Why don't you both?
We can take the trees down and put a
No,
drainage.
leave the trees in the soil and on the resident's property.
Well, we don't want to put a swale right off. We want to give them a usable backyard. And if this is their property, they own all the way to the back, so we'd like to put a swale all the way. If we do a swale, we'd like to put a swale all the way to the back.
Right, but some of these other ones have a swell that's in the middle of their lot. These guys, don't they?
So that's 30 feet up in the air, so we're leaving that, we're trying to make usable out
But
of
this
it.
is almost even more important because there's a home.
There is.
And so if you leave the trees and put the swell right at the edge of the trees, and that's way less disturbance, and they're not losing that much of their lawn, because the trees are still there.
Well, per this code, are we allowed to remove all the way to the property line? And put evergreens back?
It's never the same.
Could we make a point to walk out on the site, because in that area, it's not pristine trees, a lot of it is scrub vegetation. Which, I'll ask the homeowner, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, how would you characterize the remaining trees that are there? Can you speak?
You may speak.
So. You live right there, right?
Yeah, so that's me where the pointer is.
You can know, don't.
this is my lot right there. And right near me, there's very little tree. It's mostly just, this is mentioning mostly just scrubby stuff. A little bit further over, more close to this line here, there's a fair number of, mostly, black walnuts along here, a whole row of black walnuts, which I'm not sure where the home would be, just where potentially the home would be.
Yeah.
And here, so along, this area is black walnuts and a few other, butternut trees, I guess. But this area here is mostly just shrubby. So I conceivably leave the trees here, put a swale, like basically a shallow ditch right down here, be cutting minimal trees.
Yeah, this is why I like a work session.
Yeah.
Because I would like to put, I don't like, if I have to put an easement in the middle of the lot, I will, but over there, I'd like to push it to the side, because then the homeowner is gonna have more flexibility to preserve those trees and take care of them. Would you be in agreement?
That sounds like the best option of all. Yeah.
Would you put a cover in on those trees?
What's that?
Would you put a cover in on those trees?
Oh, culvert?
Covenant.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, we make, because what happened was. In our early, I don't like to talk about the old project, but last time, We were catching the water and taking it to the street, catching the water and taking it to the street, but taking that out, now we could run all the water to the back. And just have one easement there on the back. We wouldn't do anything on the sides, we just have one catchment easement. You wouldn't even need it on the first lot, you probably see that 9, 9, and 10 right there.
So if I were to write that in words, what would I say?
Provide trees,
That's just what
provide
I say.
perimeter.
We'll just show an easement,
We'll show a drainage easement, and what we'll do is,
because that's part of the HOA, right?
what we'll also do as part of the final drawings, Tom, if you don't mind, I'd like to have a forest out there to stake specimen trees. It's gonna be out there anyway.
And stake trees that are.
We're gonna stake the trees, and I'd like to do it with the homeowner.
That will
Well,
remain.
my concern with covenant about trees is, as a homeowner owns it. Who's to say it should stay, and in that it's sick, it's ill. I mean, now we're into, I get concerned about over-regulation. These people are buying a home, they own a property, they got a declaration, they got a drainage easement, now they got a covenant about trees.
The compromise could be this, Chris, just, what is it? The compromise could be this. I think. Rudy, Vince, myself, we had argument about this whole thing, Tom, we throw pencils across the room, we could. But. You weren't there, we're gonna put the drainage easement here, that's a no-brainer, that's never gonna move. Here's the compromise part of it. We're gonna save, we're gonna stake, we're gonna locate these trees, put them on the survey, put a construction fence around them. At the end of construction, the homeowners decide whether they stay or go, because we can't dictate what the exact footprint of that building is. That's option A. Option B, we can put the easement in, we can take all that vegetation out, and we can put a row of evergreens right down the side, and they'll grow a foot a year. We'll put in an 8 to 10 foot evergreen, and in 8 years, it'll be twice whatever it is that we put it in.
Which side of the swale? The west
I would
side?
go, I would go swale. And then I would go evergreens, and then the rest is backyard.
Yeah,
You agree?
the only question I have is, will the grading for the swale discharges from the road affect the existing, grading around those existing trees?
We'll have a side yards, I mean, in reality, all this area here, all that water came down into the trees. In the proposed condition, only this much water is going into that.
No, I mean with the flow, like, so are you putting, is it all just gonna sheet flow then?
Sheep, oh, yeah,
So there's no concentrated flow?
Yeah.
that will cause problems?
right. Yeah, we'll put. What we do, like the septic field or an existing tree to remain, we don't, if this is the tree, we don't put we put the construction fence up where the root barrier is, root growth goes, so then that goes up day one, part of our, it'll be part of our SWIP plan.
I think that's, I think you cover every single possible thing by doing that.
I don't always agree with Chris. However. I don't want to start taking away people's property rights, and I'm not sure I understand where this conversation has gone. But if I own a piece of property and I want to take a tree down in my backyard, I want somebody telling me I can't do it. So I don't know if that's where you're headed in this
Well,
conversation.
I was on two sides of the coin, because those trees there might be pristine now, but after they run bulldozers around, even with the fence, they might not be as good as we think they are.
Or in 10 years.
So I'm asking the homeowner, would you prefer a chance at them saving them, or would you, a chance at that, or a known evergreen screen?
I guess, honestly, I just like trees.
Yeah, so we leave them up, and then these homeowners will decide what they want to do, but it's gonna be their decision, not yours, that's my point.
Okay,
And putting drainage into the property line.
as long as it's their decision, I'm okay with that.
If you protect them during construction to do the best that you can to save them, then that's great. And
Yeah.
sometimes trees like that have been living in a colony or in with a lot of other stuff, where you take everything else out from around it, sometimes they thrive and sometimes they just die.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of money to try and guarantee that something like that's gonna live, and I don't know that that's.
I just want to make sure that at the end of the day, the HOA or the town is dictating to the property owner, you can't take that tree down.
Yeah, we're not doing
So
that.
Okay.
I'll be honest, the HOA won't have an issue, they'll be calling the town too. All day.
It might very well be.
Don't you approve something that I couldn't?
I think it's
No, I-
a wooded lot, people do
It
like
would
that.
be an asset to sell that lot if there was
More
for sure relocation out there.
Absolutely.
You know, just.
I think it's a fair compromise, marking them, evergreens, detention basin in the back, and we did everything we could do.
All right, so we covered the HOA detention basin maintenance notes, we're gonna work on that, HOA document, we're gonna work on that. We're gonna have the surveyor on the plat plan talk about where the permanent monuments are. I think if we go to, can you get to that drawing, L 101. The comment made at the last meeting was, I'm gonna, if you wanna add to it, Jamie, go right ahead, but I summed it up, Chris, Vince and I summed it up. Remove extraneous notes and excess drawing information.
Yeah.
And then we had some information, didn't want a separate booklet, notes were relevant one place, not the other. Anyway, we get to this, I'll start over here. On that drawing L 101, there's that information that was requested to be removed by the highway department is actually located in the slip. So there were two big text charts. We put this on the drawings for the benefit of contractors, because a lot of contractors don't read SWIFT books.
Yep.
But the guys that we have working for us know where this stuff is. We're gonna take all this, these two things, put it in the SWIFT book, but we're gonna leave the site inspections, the staging area, and the general stormwater control stuff. So these two big charts go up, they go in the stormwater report. We got that. Take those two charts
Are you
off.
good with that, Doug? You're the one that's gonna be reading.
To simplify, it'll be in the SWIFT book, we took out the redundancy. We took out L drawing, L 202, which was the right of way basement slab and footer summary, I mean, we've gone over the earthwork over and over again. Joey said to me, he goes, I don't need this to build the plan, so we'll just get that drawing out, one less drawing.
That was L 202.
Yeah, so we're gonna get rid of that, we don't need, that was just an earthwork study, it was really for Tobin's
Say, I don't see it
benefit.
there anyway. Yeah, it was
That
so-
was removed in the last submission.
Yeah.
And these are very different from necessarily what will be put out as contract documents. So they're doing this stuff for the record for here, but they might very well put all that erosion control stuff back on.
Yeah.
The contractor's not gonna look at the book, they're gonna.
Yeah.
And then when you go out, they didn't do it.
We know the guys that are gonna do it. We know the guys that are doing this. Drawing L 200.
L 322.
On L 200, there was a comment on the sanitary and the water system, so we'll get the appropriate documentation. Those labels.
Yeah, we'll confirm that it was the town, the county will handle the sanitary slate change, the verbiage there.
So that change is made to the plans. I think that was, I guess we're waiting on engineering comments. Construction staging comment, we had several drawings, there was discussion in the last meeting, why we did it the way we did it. And the reason we did it the way we did it is because it's one project. The stages are just lines on dates on a calendar, they were stop points. And at those stop points, before you go to the next area of disturbance, everything has to be seated and stabilized before you go to the next level of the drawing, before you do more clearing and earthwork.
But that's really a SWIFT thing. More than right, the planning board issue, because the planning board should be concerned about the plan, right? They're not concerned about how.
Yes and no, Jamie, but in this particular case, the second stage, we have to create a temporary basin, and that temporary basin requires engineering review
Okay.
because it's intercepting a large amount of water. If we clear cut the whole site, you have monster runoff.
And I know that one issue.
So that's where the staging came from,
Dirt and stuff.
stabilization and water runoff, and that was Doug's comment earlier, we did the basin, and I think it worked out well. So,
We'll get more, Doug, you'll get more detailed comments on that, right? But in general, that was one of the major complaints last time around was.
yeah,
that
so
There was so.
if I'm not- yeah.
Messed up, and this seems to have resolved it somewhat.
I think we had 5 stages the first time, now we're down to 3, which I think is more reasonable, because you have the initial stage, rebuild the basin. 6 weeks, then you do the second temporary base in 6 weeks, then you build the road in 8 weeks, so it's all done in 5 months. And then you're into the home construction, which. You know, everything will be stabilized, and as you sell lots, then you go into an individual SWIP for each lot gets its own silt fence. So if you started May 1st, you'd be done 5 months from then. The basin, all the roads, all the infrastructure, everything. If we start late fall, there'd be a pause, straw, stabilized everywhere, and if you do it, finish up in the spring, so.
So the utility mains all the one road goes in.
Yeah, well, they're obviously pavement second, but
Right.
we get all the drainage first. Then you build up the cut spills for the road, then you cut in the utilities, then the binder. Wetland review status, Vince, maybe you can summarize on that.
The official letter was accepted by the Army Corps of Engineers on August 30th. They took some time, as a result of the August 30th date, the 45-day calendar starts at the August 30th, so. Count 45 days from the end of that.
And how did that impact lot 9? Because I think that was a lot.
So what Vincent is saying is. The letter that they sent has been accepted on August 30th, so the shot clock starts. So they have 45 days to act.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's right, right,
Yes,
Vincent?
you're good.
Yeah. So in 45 days, if they don't act, then they accepted it.
Okay.
Or less.
Yeah. So that's where we are. I mean, we can review any other
Can
things.
you go back to the first sheet?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Are you talking about the L101?
First thing you had up.
It's all the flat line. About that.
So
So Scott, is this L101?
No, this is just the
we
flat.
could do L101 too. Okay, go with L101. Wait till this is going. Okay, I got that. So 101.
101.
The rodent control.
You can show us the same thing.
Yeah.
It is 101.
That's 100.
No, the one that shows right there.
Yeah.
So Jamie was at the meeting and, you know, we had intended to have Rob here, but he's got some stuff there. But his concern is that easement in the middle,
The
storm one?
But the same thing.
yes, the storm.
Okay,
He does not want that catch basin discharging on the private property. He has a concern of taking the road.
oh, I got you. What Doug's talking about is, there's some upper storms pipes here, and then they're in a culvert, they're in a pipe, and then they come out of the pipe. And then the water comes across the back, is that the concern? So was this concern, he wanted it in a pipe, he wanted it culvertized?
His concern is, this has happened on previous projects, and he would much rather keep all that water in the road than it's
Oh.
road water. And take the water that needs to come off private property. And keep that separate. Because if it becomes confusing long-term. Because people come out and then they tell Rob that this was all your fault because you had a
Yes.
big storm. And it's flooded my whole backyard, it's ruined my whole livelihood. And, you know, my swing set got impacted, so. That was, that and those other two on the left over there.
Okay, I understood those two, now I got it.
So it is definitely more traditional to keep all that, and it would run in a manhole pipe system along
Which we have,
whichever side you want. You could just pick it all up. Run it this way,
So I mean, if you just separated that,
or even just have them behind and then.
right, if you separated it and
But then you
off the
could
private
still have
stuff, brought it
swale
out.
down through
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
and
Yeah, less water.
pick some, you could even smooth it out, I mean, and then somehow down here,
there's a long history in town of
you might even.
stuff like that that's gone on, that's been problematic
Yeah.
for Rob.
Yeah,
guys.
you want to see,
drainage will go this way.
keep it clean,
The longer, you still need this.
right?
Total. Switch the
This
pipes.
might even need to have, if you brought it out, when you did this, if you pulled all these manholes back, are these sanitary? What are these? If you pulled them all off. the
Hey,
line,
Vincent?
run it
Vincent?
separately.
I think the other thing that Rob,
Not everybody likes. to-
caught on to
Then this line.
is the larger easement. On the south end there.
Yep.
It's in the right of way. There doesn't appear to be any way. to
I'm just saying, like, I don't know, you know, at what point do you go to a corner
Doug
line
and Vince
system where you got manholes off one, catch basins in the street?
No.
Talk to everybody, you guys know.
This is.
Yeah.
Here.
And Scott, can you bring this all to the same center, because I know Doug is talking to Vince, you're right there. Just want to get, I think everyone's saying similar things, but I think nobody knows the rest of us.
Doug's concern now is the access to the southern easement running along the southern property line.
There's no way to get back there.
So how we have it right now is that 12-foot top of berm going around the basin. So you could access the 10-foot access between lots 9 or 8 and 9. Come down there, right along the top of the basin, around the forebay, and then up to the back there without needing individual easements to those properties.
I think when Rob looked at it, he thought, I mean, it's gonna be an HOA easement.
Yeah.
But he thought there should be one up the top and one in the midpoint.
So you want one over here?
I mean, it's gonna be a private easement, Jamie, but I mean,
Yeah.
if he did have to get back in there, there's no way he's gonna go.
So two points of access.
Well, I guess the only thing I would say here, that's 10, 20, 30, 40 feet. I don't think that's the place to come in. I come in here or here, but we'll get a second point of egress.
Probably a couple.
Yeah, that's fine.
What does he want to drive in there?
Repair your whole thing.
Right, but
A mower,
like,
Bulldozer.
yeah.
because you're not gonna drive necessarily.
Well, they're not gonna come all the way from the bottom, all the way up and around.
Well,
So
no,
you
and
need a
getting
couple.
through the riprap stuff. And
Yeah, there's
down
check.
those slopes and stuff down here by the basin and where the forebays are. They're not gonna drive. What do they
Well,
want to drive?
we've been in crazier places than that over the years. Yeah.
I just didn't know,
He's asking
like,
for a couple of access,
So just
but not everywhere.
to
So I
recap
think we're
these
good.
last few notes that we lovely engineers are gonna work on. For Rob Cushing, we're gonna separate and put in separate drainage, the road drainage versus the private drainage separately, kind of through those middle
Yeah.
pieces.
Correct.
It'll be lawn in the middle and then the road will go around the outside.
Yep. And then there's gonna be 2 points of access on the easements. On the perimeter.
So we have one, we're gonna add one more.
to fit a certain width of vehicle.
How wide is that drainage easement? 20 feet, 20 feet?
I think you wanna somehow decide what you're gonna be able to get in there. The gator,
The access easement that goes to the base is 10-foot.
Yeah.
Right now, so we're doing that would be a 10-foot access.
it's not for me to answer, it's,
Yeah,
I'm
I
asking
mean,
a
if that's,
question,
if
like
the
what,
10-foot easement
We'll
goes.
propose 10 and you guys let us know.
The other thing is, Vincent, the town of Manlius no longer has jurisdiction over their sewers.
Right.
So any approval that you get, we're going to need, right, my recommendation to this board would be that we would want a technical review letter coming back from Onondaga County, so it's more than just capacity now. So in the last year, the town of Manlius has no input nor any budgets for sewer work in the town of Manlius. In effect, they have deeded everything over to Onondaga County. So from Marty Hennessy, my discussions with Marty Hennessy, is that Marty is gonna be the one that owns, operates and maintains this now. So my recommendation to this board would be that we make sure that somebody, probably Emily Procopio.
Yeah.
Reviews your technical information and that everything is fine with her. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right? But that would be the recommendation.
Okay, we'll get that sent out that way.
Yeah.
Assuming all these are gravity sewers.
It's a combination.
so, I don't know.
But they're not
much about
ours.
this stuff.
They're not ours, so.
Right,
But-
that's what I was just, yeah.
So the concerns that we received from the community about, you know, the grinders and the pumps and the powering of these pumps and power goes out and all that kind of stuff, I'm assuming y'all read that email as well.
That would all be determined by Onondaga County.
So that's,
They're not ours.
Why don't we get the feeling though that they're not gonna pick up the phone down in Onondaga County and the sewer back?
My understanding is talking to the staff here in Manlius is when people do call here, they tell them that we don't own the sewers anymore, right?
Well, that makes legal sense, and ownership and all that stuff, but for somebody whose sewer is backing up. Wants to get it fixed. And your first point of contact is the town. And to call the town and have them tell you that, well, the county owns the sewers, it's not our problem.
No, I don't know, people do understand that.
Well, we do a lot of private development, upscale private development and. Good builders make recommendations to put in pumps, generators or even backup storage capacity, so if it does. Fail those units, I mean, homeowners. Kind of lean on the developer a little bit, I mean, I'm sure Tom's offered that to some of his clients.
Generators. Battery backup.
Yeah, it's done all the time.
All the time.
We're not out to, developers want to sell a house, but it's not working.
I
There's
was just
options.
curious, I never,
Ernie, just to give it some background.
but now that you mentioned that, actually, my in-laws have that
Yeah. No, I would,
down
a
south.
couple houses,
Nobody even has a beach. Yeah.
They have a pump up system in South Carolina and they have backup
Yeah.
tanks.
I was looking at a house with a walkout outside. And they had a generator in their backyard just for their walkout. Didn't have enough.
I just got it approved like a week ago by plumbing control for a grinder pump, so. There,
So how many are there now?
How many grinder pumps? 3 guys.
for that, for. We were at 7.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 14, according to the letter from the community.
Oh, exactly.
That's why I added that.
It's in the drawings.
5 of them?
And it would.
I will give you an official count when we find it. Can't read that up there. It's on one of the drawings. It's around 5.
Okay.
It was 7.
It was 7, I remember that.
So is there gonna be a note on the subdivision plan? This lot is served by.
We can have that.
We
added.
like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Add it to the platform.
Again, that's a 99% of people know what that is, but
No, that's a good idea.
No, that's good.
at least it's there.
Thank you.
It's easy.
It looked like on numerous sheets, there were notes that said vegetation to stay. You remember that?
That was my point with the buffer. We want to clear as minimal as possible, let the homeowner make those decisions, but get the drainage swales in the right places. That's our objective.
And then does it? I don't know this, but does it go to a manhole? The grinder pump pumps it into a manhole? Is that how this works?
Yes,
Okay, is there an easement off the property line to the manhole?
you have your lateral from your house to the street right of way, and then you've got your sanitary easement within the street right of way.
So there's no sanitary easements going across the residential property. It goes to the right of way, at which point, it's like a water line, really.
Okay,
As soon as it's the right of way, then it's public.
There's one, isn't there, that goes across the middle?
There is one sanitary easement that crosses the middle of the property.
Because we have whenever you have more than one house, that was the only way to get it across, because we couldn't run it uphill, so we ran it across the back.
I think that's gonna become
Judy's excuse.
no, I believe that's going to be a review comment for Onondaga County. My sense is they do not want to take on the grinder pumps nor the stuff on private property, but there are several communities where those are taken.
I mean, if I could.
I would
see
say
the
it's
pump versus the,
I would sense in this point that they're gonna say they don't want anything to do with it. But there are counties like you know, in Madison or Oneida, where they've done stuff like this, Cayuga County, where they have taken on.
So
pieces
which
of-
lots would you lose access to in theory if you couldn't do that? If the county said no, if that's what Doug, is that what you're implying, Doug? Is that when they do their detailed review, they can say no?
I don't know what they're gonna say, but I mean, Vincent just told us that he just had one approved in Onondaga County,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, there was a private.
So I don't know what they'll say, but.
What the bottom line is, we can't answer till we review and
I was just
we're
curious
agreeing.
if it was gonna change, like, change things drastically.
Yeah.
And you know, you'd be back over this, if like you found out you couldn't do these 3 or something.
Yeah, we let you know.
We talked to Doug, we talked to them about the grinder pumps previously.
Yeah.
They haven't made any indication that they were against it. But now Doug's asking for a formal review, we'll submit it to Emily Procopio, and if such change occurs, we'll have to amend that.
She might be
That's all.
more likely to say
That's
no
all.
to the easement.
It says right on our utilities plan, it says these lots are gravity, these lots are. Yeah, that's the sheet, it's on.
300.
It's in the construction notes. Say gravity line, of course, main lateral. It's one of the circles.
Yeah. But it-
I don't even.
We'll work it out. We'll check with the county.
What else?
Let's do it. Think we got some things to do, Chris?
So I know we have things to do.
Doug, do you have anything additional that we ought to put on record now that we need to address?
Do you want to forward?
I've been looking at this as we've been going through. I think some of them are being answered.
I think so too.
Let's revisit it, and I have a few notes,
Okay,
I'll send them to you.
okay.
If you want
So
to.
we'll review them and then we'll forward them on. We're gonna review them and then forward them on.
Yeah, okay, review and.
Okay. Okay.
I have one
appreciate that.
question from this. May or may not be relevant. Several of the houses requiring sewage grinder pumps are on lots smaller than the 1 acre required in the subdivision plan.
That was a previous, that was the old.
Okay,
That was when the city was.
okay.
All the lots were always 47,000. They're all conforming condition.
Right. Three or four, less than 5. I don't know which ones it is. There, we have to look on every, we're gonna read the,
It's on the utility, I mean,
yeah,
It's
here. I've got it
I
open.
just can't see it's up there. Pretty sure the layout is.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 14.
Okay. So
Wait,
these
back up
ones,
to 6 now.
these ones and this one.
6.
So
6,
No, it's just 2 from
10
one
to
side,
6
4 from the
and
other.
14.
6, 7, 8, 9, 14. And what was, did I miss one?
10. Did you say
10,
10?
10, and 14.
So it's this lower corner.
9 and 10 run north to one manhole, and then the
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 14 run east and then north.
Yeah, it's the lower part of the lower loop.
And those go through that middle easement.
Correct.
Okay.
They all get dumped into a manhole that also receives gravity.
Oh,
That's gravity through across the,
And then
across 13.
units in the basements or underground with the house. Is that what it was? They kind of like these folks.
30 days away.
It works.
Further down the line.
No, if you have a bathroom in the basement and it's below your sanitary.
Those things.
Yeah, then you always have grinder pump. There are a lot of houses having the basement. You finish the basement, you see the basement, sanitary is below this.
They just don't know they're there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and now you back them up with either battery backup or a generator.
Thank you for educating me on that.
sometimes you can build, if you don't want to buy the generator, you can buy an extra storage tank with electric capacity and then you can. Time it very common. Yeah, we've got a bunch of walkout houses and a lot of them have that. Walkout, they have a pump for their basement.
That makes sense.
Scott, just for the record. We have been receiving a healthy amount of correspondence from the public. They've been notifying us of their concerns in various aspects. We received one very recently from, quote, the neighbors. They're asking about our meeting tonight, whether it's open to the public, whether it's going to be recorded and available to the community. Just for the record, I have no way of responding because I don't know who the neighbors are or how to contact the neighbors.
They have their own email address.
But this is all being recorded and it's all available and it's open to handle the meeting. At some point in time, they'll be entitled to speak when we schedule a public hearing. But I wanted you to know we've been getting correspondence, steady flow of correspondence.
Anything that we talked about tonight or?
It's all available, our office.
A lot of it's about the classification of the stream. You know, and the video of it going in August and
Yeah.
there's a spring fed.
Yeah, we know about it.
Yeah, so
We're just waiting for, Army Corps to make their.
We mitigated it to the 10 acres based on what we submitted to the Army Corps. As you know, with the recent findings, technically, the wetland specialist that we're currently in talks with, the Army Corps would have made those wetlands to begin with, so.
So I'm new to this project, that just
Yeah.
started in January, but. What happened that the original delineation,
We had somebody delineated it based on 2018 rules. And then 2020, the rules went one way, and then 6 months ago, they went another way, so now they swung back. A more developer friendly way. The wetland regulations have swung in 5 years, 3 different ways.
that's so strange because the gardens themselves haven't changed.
But we've never taken the full, we've never gotten further along enough into the project where we committed, where we formally submitted something on. The disturbance of that area that we were going for. And when we put the initial, I don't want to talk about the last project too much, but the prior project. We didn't have a bonus basin. Now we added a bonus basin, so now we're right into that wetland area, so now we're dependent on it.
And it's not so much a dam either, it looks
No.
like, which is more of a concern to me than,
No, it's a catchment overflow area.
yeah. And so is the volume of flow maintained in the existing swale from the end of it, I think it's Churchill Circle or whatever that's up here, is the profile and capacity of that swale maintained from the edge of the property and the drainage easement that's there through this property and out the other side?
I'm the landscape architect, my engineer doesn't answer that question, but we're greatly reducing, I can tell you in general terms, we're not releasing the water any more than the existing site is, and we're holding back all these storm events that currently would shoot right through. So when there's a big storm event, we're holding it back. Without this project, all the water is shooting right through, so
We're not capturing that channel in any form.
that's a bypass.
You're not even touching it, grading lines.
No,
We are, Scott,
At
we
the
are
V.
touching it.
at the V, where
That's
the.
only 10 acres.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the water coming down this way, yeah, that's a bypass. But we are catching it, it comes in against the.
So this was side, right, according to this one.
Yes.
So maybe it's
Yeah. Yes. The engineer's not here, so I don't want to say yes too quickly.
I believe this has been a very productive work session. Are we all set? Scott, anything further?
Can I just one clarification? Doug, is the assumption that your comments from tonight and then Doug's Swift / engineering comments will be combined and then submitted to us? And then we will provide a complete package at that point. We're not gonna provide a package after this meeting and then a package after he gets this done.
I would hold off until you get everything.
But I appreciate that, because I just want to do the work.
Hey, you can do a little bit of work. Come on.
And we are marking this off the calendar until we are ready to move forward again. One other item that is not on our agenda, I wanted to just let everybody know. Pauly Road, that project. Been sitting for quite a while. We previously served them with a 6-month demand that they had moved forward. They came in. They have not done anything further. We've now given them another notification. They have 60 days to be forward. Their project will be dismissed. Motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second by Ernie, all in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned.